Okay, can you hear me?
Okay, yes. Hold on for 1 second.
Okay. Okay, so you guys, thank you all for joining. Today we have another special guest. We have Rachel Dublier. Yes, her last name is French. She will be coming. I had her on last week, and she was talking about how she got into a relationship with a man that was 8 years older than she was at 10 years old. And so she was just on. I'm waiting for her to rejoin because this is an explosive story. You do not want to miss this story. Not only does this story bring awareness to what our children um, have uh, encountered or can encounter if we are not aware of what's going on in their lives. We have to be very prayerful, watchful, and careful as to who we allow to entertain our children or befriend our children because of certain things like this. Yesterday, you missed another story about a young lady who went through just for vocal ministry purposes. And we're just going to expound on her story. She was just up here. She will be back up here in right now. So I'm going to bring her. Hi, Miss Rachel. How are you?
Hi, I'm doing fine. How are you?
I'm doing great. I'm doing great. Okay, so thank you so much for joining us today. I just wanted to
It's
uh
doing that staticky thing again.
is static. Can you hear me now?
I can hear you, but it's still staticky.
Do y'all hear static on the line? Or it's just between me and her?
Say that one more time.
I was asking them, okay, so you can't hear me again? How about now? How about now? No? It straightened out a while ago when we was practicing. Why isn't it doing now?
I don't know.
How about now?
It's still the same. It sounds like a robot.
This is horrible. um, okay. Okay, so just tell your story and I'll figure it out.
Okay. So at the age of 8, I moved from Florida um, to North Carolina, and um, from there, we joined a church that was there. Um, and at the age of 10 is when everything basically started with me and my ex. Um,
And when you say X, can you hear me?
yes.
Okay, when you say X, you guys got married or you're no longer together? You never got married. What happened with that? I mean, did you get married or no?
Yes, we did get married.
Okay, eventually got married. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
go ahead with your story.
So it started at the age of 10. Um, it started over, it was a letter that was written. And in the letter, it was portrayed to be two people talking at one time about a female in the church. Um, I was nosy. So I picked the letter up and I'm reading it, at the time I'm reading it is basically like I'm basically trying to figure out who this, he's talking about. It was told to me it was between him and another gentleman that played music with him.
Mm-hmm.
But how I found the letter, basically, he would pick me up from school. At the time I was in middle school.
So we're talking about your ex.
Yes.
Okay.
So it started from there, and it started the letter basically stating that he likes his female in the church. At the time, I didn't know who he was talking about because there was other females in the church. But once I asked them, it was me. Um, so it went from there. It went to sneaking around. It went to, um, we did get caught by my mother.
Caught
On the phone.
about what age?
I was 13.
Okay. So from 10 to 13, were y'all sexually active?
Yes.
Okay. So what about what age do you think that the sex began?
When I was 10 when it happened.
Okay, the
Um,
first time, the initial time.
yes, I was 10. Yes.
And he is how much older than you? He's
7.
how much your senior?
7.
Okay, so he was 17 and you were 10.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So at 13, let's go back to this. At 13, you got your mother called y'all in a sexual act or just talking or just being
On the phone. She
okay.
called us because I was in the ninth grade. I was in the ninth grade when it happened. But anyways, I fell asleep doing my homework on the bed, and I didn't have a cell phone then. So the house phone was the phone that basically I was talking. So um, I remember he called, and I didn't pick it up because I didn't have the phone with me. The phone was actually in my mother's room. And I guess I was sleepwalking because I wasn't fully up. I wasn't really aware of my surroundings. I just walked straight into my mother's room, and I picked the phone up and put it back down once I realized what I was doing. So I took the phone. Once I put it back down, but then I picked it back up. My mother's lights were off. You know, she appeared to be asleep. So I took the phone back in my room, and when I took the phone I didn't feel comfortable. So I was like, hold on for a second, and I looked underneath my door, and my mother's light was on. So not knowing she was actually on the phone when we was on the phone,
So
and
that's a good example of when the old people say every shut eye ain't sleeping, every goodbye ain't gone.
right. So that's what happened, and I got off the phone because I didn't feel comfortable. I got off the phone, and she came in the room, and she was just like, you know, Rachel. She was trying to basically say like, Rachel, I know you're not asleep. So I was like, I pretended to be asleep, and she, you know, she woke me up. She talked. She, you know, told me to come into her room, and I came into her room. We sat down to talk. She was like, "This is not right. You know, you're not supposed to be doing this." You know, she didn't. It was no chastisement as far as like beatings or anything like that that took place. She just literally sat down and talked to me and told me to stop. Um, you know, went to school the next day. I went. I don't know if it was the next day or the day after that. She talked with him face to face, and she told him to leave me alone, and or she was gonna, you know, press charges. Um, that didn't happen. He told from what I wasn't there. I was actually in school, but what was told to me from both of them that it was stated, no matter where you take Rachel in the word, I'm going to follow her and I'm going to find her. So it continued. I told him like he will call, I would say, hey, we can't do this, stop. But eventually it picked back up.
So let me ask you this. How did he even start picking you up from school in the
He
beginning?
would ask my mother.
Okay, so he would just be like, I want to pick you up.
Mm-hmm.
So we can safely say stalking is a big word. We're not going to use stalking, but we're going to say he was very advanced. If that's a word, he was very he advanced you a lot at 10 years old while he was 17. To your knowledge, had he been with other females, girls, women, or you don't know?
At that age, I don't think that was something I thought about as I got
Okay, it wasn't prevalent on your mind.
Yeah, as I got older, that was a question of mine. I did ask, was he ever, you know, sexually active with anybody? He told me no.
Okay. So from 10 years old, of course, he took your virginity.
Yes.
He deflowered you.
Okay, yes.
Okay. So go on from the time that even though your mom told him no and you did try to put the brakes on, he continued to advance. So where did you go from there? Did the people in your church, did your mom ever talk to his parents? Did the people in the church know? How did that go?
His mother knew. well, it's not just his mother because she's still married, but his parents knew. His sister knew about it. Of course, they didn't agree with it, but they knew about it. It wasn't, not. I don't think anybody else in the ministry at the time knew anything. It was like a secret. Um, but his intermediate family, who he actually stayed with, knew. His parents did talk to him about it, but you know, it was a secret thing. We would have sometimes secret like gestures that we would make while we're in church. It was
You and him.
yes,
Okay.
yes.
Okay. So at one time he was teaching you, or was supposed to have been teaching you some kind of lesson, or that's incorrect.
A
Like
lesson?
piano lessons or something like that.
No, he was the youth pastor.
Oh, okay. So he was in charge of you.
Yeah, he was. Oh, he was a youth pastor and a minister of music.
Oh, so he was on a ministerial staff.
Yes.
Okay. 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 Now, okay. So, yeah. Okay. So, okay. So not only was he your senior, but he was in charge, we can say, church wise, that he was in charge of your soul.
Yes, as a youth pastor, yes.
As a youth pastor. Okay. Right.
His
Because youth
grandmother was
pastors
the
are in
pastor.
charge of the youth.
Say that one more time.
I said yes, because youth pastors are in charge of the youth.
Yes.
Okay, so take us to did his parents ever say anything to you? Did they ever address you? Did they ever address you and your mom together, or no?
Never did they ever that I can remember. Did they ever address us with my mom together with them? I know that it was a time his mother did say to me, for it to stop. Um, you know, it didn't stop, but she did state that to me. His as far as his father, I don't remember his father ever saying anything to me. His father's he's a quiet man, so he never like talked to me on that level as far as with dealing with him. My mother definitely, she told us to stop. Um, she didn't know that it had continued until like I got older.
What is older?
I was 17, about to turn 18.
Okay, so at that point, how did she feel about it? What was her view
She
on
didn't like it at all.
it? Okay.
No, she did not like it at all. She did not want me to marry him. And kind of go back some. Me and his mother has had words before we had got married. It is due to because it was stated that we were cousins and they did not want us to be together. So, yeah.
So at what point was the cousin allegation brought up, and who was it brought up by?
That was like when I was a little bit younger. It was always said that we were cousins. They didn't say as far as like what number, like like fourth, second, or something like. It was never like that. It would just say that we were cousins, and that cousins are not to do that. And I didn't know that family. I came from Florida and then to North Carolina, so I don't know those people. I didn't know them at the time. I just knew that my mother, went to their church, and we just started going to the church, and it just started from there. But the cousin thing started really becoming heavy because I was getting older, and I know at times his great grandmother that was living at the time, he did sit down with her and was like, is she my cousin? And she would always say, I don't know for sure, but I don't think that she is. And I don't think he ever I don't think the great grandmother ever thought okay, maybe they're talking. I think that she probably just thought, oh, he's just asking about the family. But I didn't know, as far as that part. But as far as with the cousin thing, it just continued. We did get a DNA test done, and it was stated that we were not cousins, and it just went from there. eventually we got married. And then, continue marriage.
Okay. So what? Okay. So what prompted you to get a DNA test? Just them. Um.
Because they was always stating that we were cousins. Um, and it was always stated, so we just, I guess, wanted to make sure that we weren't.
Okay, that sounds good. Now go into how you got engaged. Go into that for me.
He proposed to me, and then I want to say maybe a month or two after that, I think or a month. I can't remember exactly how it happened, but I know he proposed to me, and then we got married. The day that I got married, my mother begged me. I had actually had college class that morning, and I came home, and she knew that day I was gonna get married, but she begged me not to get married. She didn't come to my wedding. My oldest brother did. He came to my wedding. Well, like a little thing that we had. So yeah, that's how basically he proposed, and then I said yes, and that was basically it. We just continued marriage.
Okay, so how was the proposal? Was it one that blew your mind, or was it? Walk me through the proposal. Like, were you even thinking about getting married, or you weren't thinking about getting married? How did that go?
Okay, so no, I was not thinking about marriage. That it wasn't something like I wanted to do at that present moment. I was literally fresh out of high school. Like I had just graduated from high school, and then a couple months later, I got married. But I wasn't thinking about that. Now being with him at the time, yes, I was, but not as far as actually being married. Um, but when he did it, to be honest, or surprise. I think it was just more like, oh, okay, okay. I did have a smile on my face. Um, it was after church um, that he proposed. It's kind of vague, but it wasn't like a big thing. It wasn't like, it wasn't like, oh my God, it wasn't like that.
Okay, so now tell us about. Okay, so you guys left your. Okay, we're not going to talk about the ministry per se. Am I clearing up, or you can't hear me?
I can't hear you.
Can you hear me now? Can you hear me better now?
It's like a robot.
Oh, it's back to that?
Now it's okay.
Okay. So tell me about, we're not going to go into the ministry at all, but just tell me what prompted you to leave your ministry. Did he leave first and then you followed him, or y'all left together?
He left first and I followed him.
Okay. Did he ask you to follow him, or you just did it?
Yes.
Which
He
one?
asked me to follow him.
Okay. So you went to a different ministry following him because he asked.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So when you got to that ministry, that is when y'all decided to get married, correct?
Correct.
Okay. So at the wedding, your mother did not come. Did his parents come?
No.
Okay. So just your brother was
My
right?
oldest brother. Mm-hmm.
Your oldest brother came to support because your parents were not happy at all.
No.
Okay. So after the marriage, walk us through adjusting as a teen wife, because at this point he's no longer a teen. He's a full adult because he's 7 years older than you.
Right.
Okay. So walk us through a normal day as a teen wife.
A normal day at that time when I got married, my day started off going to college. I was in college. I would drive from um, one city to the next to get to college. And then after that, I would leave from there, go to work. I was working at Walmart at the time. And then I would leave from Walmart and go home. So that was a daily routine for me. Eventually, the working stopped because he did not want me to work. So I would just go to school. But then because the school was basically like 30 minutes away, or maybe like 35 to 40 minutes away from my house at the time, I left that school and went to the school that was in actually the city that I was in. Um, and then eventually that stopped as well.
Okay, so you uh while you were married to him, you did not further your education.
Say that one more time.
While you were married to him, you did not further your education.
In the beginning, I was in school, but eventually it stopped. And then I would get pregnant, and then I would be in school, be pregnant, and then it was never a consistent thing. It was never to where I was able to actually go all the way.
Okay, so do you think that he pushed you? I apologize. Do you think okay, I apologize. Can you hear me now?
Mm-hmm.
Do you think he pushed you to get more education, or that was not on his agenda?
No, not at all.
Okay, so it was more of you being a stay-at-home mom or a stay-at-home wife. Okay, and walk me through your pregnancies. Were y'all trying to have children, or it just happened? Like, were you trying to have children? Like the first child, was it planned?
The first child was planned. I the first time I thought I was pregnant, but I wasn't pregnant. But the first child we was trying to have a baby, but then at not the second child, the third, none of that. It was not planned. It just happened that way.
Okay, okay. So walk me through the experience, because me and you did talk off camera. Walk me through the experience of when you believe the infidelity started, or to your notion, or when you started to notice something was wrong.
Um, I always, even before marriage, I always kind of felt like there was something done or going on, but I can never pinpoint it. I can never, figure out if it was the truth or not. There was a point during our marriage that when I had caught a STD that was curable, um, and I know I've never been with anybody, so basically what happened was I was pregnant. I went to my prenatal checkup, and the doctor called me back and was like, "Hey, I need you to come back." And I was like, "Okay," like, I'm thinking like it's just something like a routine or something. And she was like, "No, you have an STD." And I was like, I'm not understanding. You know how you learn about stuff like when you in high school and health education? That's why they tell you it's very important to actually pay attention. Because I was just one of the children, like, I was smart. So I didn't think I really had to pay attention in class. So I guess I just missed that part. But she, told me, what it was. And I was just like, no, that, she was like, well, you need to come in because it can be detrimental to your health and to the baby. And I was like, okay. So at the time when I got that phone call, I was with my mom shopping for my children. And I didn't say nothing to her. I just, went to my doctor's office the next day, and they told me, basically what it was and how I contracted it. And they asked me, have I ever been with anybody? And I told them, no, I've only been with one person.
So since the age of from 10 years old till we're gonna say in your 20s, because you're bearing children at this point, you had not been with another man.
Oh no, ma'am. I didn't believe in that. That being unloyal and unfaithful, I never that was something of me that I just do not agree with. I don't agree with it.
Okay, so then walk us through how did you break this news to him?
I called him. When I got home, I went outside because my mother was inside the house, and I asked him. I said, I told him what happened, and he was like, "No, that's not true." He was like, "Are you sure?" And I was like, "Yes." you know, this is what she's telling me. He was like, well, we'll go to the doctor's office tomorrow and you're going to see, you know. So I did. And I, you know, went to the doctor's office. And I called him again. And I told him, like, you know, she said that you need to come get checked out because you will have it too. So that's what we did. It went in process of me telling him, it was like, Rachel, you did something. It wasn't like I did something. Like, well, he did something. It was, well, what did you do?
Okay, so he was trying to whip the story around on you.
Right. So, you know, I was like, how could you say that? You know, all I do at the time when that had happened, I was at work. Well, I was working. And if I wasn't working, I was home. So when that happened, I was just like, you know, how could this be? Because I know I ain't never been with nobody. I was never a type of person or woman to be in men's face anyway. That's just not my character.
Right. Okay. So when he got checked, did he also have it?
Yes.
Okay. So now, okay. So did you get checked multiple times or it was just that once?
Multiple times. The first time I got checked, I wasn't getting checked for that reason. I was getting checked because I was, you know, pregnant and I had started having pelvic issues. And it just got really, the pain was like really, really bad. So I went to them ER, and it's so funny because the person that actually checked me was his sister, because she was working in the ER at the time. Well, she was in the room when it had happened. Like, you know, the doctors were checking me. So I didn't know at the time that you know, that's what I had. They just gave me some pain medication to take or whatever, and I went home. I went to my prenatal appointment, and then that's when they called me back. I had just left the doctor's office, and they called me back and was like, "This, you need to come in." And I was like, "Okay," but then that's when the results from the ER came back and that I had it. But it was 2 different times that I had took it.
Okay, so did he ever admit to giving you this or being unfaithful?
Say that one more time.
Did he ever admit to giving you this or being unfaithful? Did he ever admit that to you?
No. There was a point I had to be hospitalized for it, and I was hospitalized for a week. So imagine being pregnant, being hospitalized for something that you know that you did not do, and it's being looked upon that you are the one that you're the reason why you have it. So of course I went through a state of depression. I was in the hospital. One of the nurses came in and she was like, "I really need to talk to you." And I was like, "Okay." So he was sitting in the chair beside me, and he was like, do you want him to stay in here while we talk, or do you want?" And I said at the time, I was like, "I don't care." So, but he got up and walked out. The nurse was talking to me, and she said, "I don't know if you're sexually active with anybody other than your spouse." And I said, "Ma'am," I said, "I've never been with anybody but him." And she was like, "Okay." She was like, so I started asking her questions like, how can I have gotten this? And she told me, you know, how you can catch it, and it has to live in moisture and stuff like that. And I was like, okay. Of course, you know, I had tears in my eyes. You know, how could this happen? He comes back in the room, and he says, that he didn't do it. So I was like, okay, I'm not gonna cry. I'm not gonna cry. But he said that he didn't do it. So I was, "Are you sure? Like, this is what the doctor is saying." And the nurse was like, "You know, this is the only way that, you know, it can catch from somebody else giving it to you and then you giving it to her." And he looked me dead in my eyes and was like, with tears in his eyes, and said, "No, he did not do anything. He's never been with anybody else." So it was basically that. That's how it was left at. So yeah.
Okay, so let me ask you this. Okay, so with that happening, how did y'all move forward from that? Or did he ever admit to sleeping with other women ever, or men?
Say that one more time.
Did he ever admit to sleeping with anyone else ever?
When he admitted to me about the STD was 2018.
And that was how many years after you had contracted it?
5. Well, 4.5 going on 5.
So it was 5 years before he owned up to committing adultery and giving you a curable STD.
Mhm.
Okay. So after you got cleared up from the hospital, you went home. Walk us through how your relationship was after that point.
After that point, my trust level for him went completely down. I mean, I still was a wife. I still was there for him. I still, took care of anything he needed to be taken care of. I didn't stop that. But my trust for him, it wasn't there. And he knew it. He knew that I didn't trust him. I would tell him I don't trust you. I made it very, very clear. And he would always apologize. Like, I don't understand, how you got it. I'm sorry. Maybe it was just a test from God, testing
Okay, wait a
our
minute.
relationship.
Wait a minute. Okay, so he's trying to tell you that him giving you a curable STD is a test from God.
Yeah, that's what was stated to me. Yes.
So not only is he a cheat, he's very manipulative and a pathological liar. Okay. So did you tell anyone about what was going on with you, or you just kept it on the inside and tried to deal with it?
Yes. I did talk to a couple people about it, but it wasn't like a big thing. I didn't like try to make it like, oh, this is what's going on with me. I'm a very confidential person, so I wasn't at the time. I was just like, I really don't want people knowing what's going on within myself or within my marriage at the time. I did eventually talk to my mother about it, and she was upset. And she was upset with him, but she didn't display it to him. She just, she was upset. She was like, why did I not say anything to her? And I was just like, I'm just not that type of person to just bash somebody in or bring that just wasn't me. So I just left it alone. I just would live with it. I just didn't talk about it. Of course I would rant and rave to him, like, something had to take place. Like, you did something, like, just be honest, like, just say like what you did, like. But I, it was always, oh, Rachel, it's okay, you're gonna get over it. It was a test from God. I didn't do anything. Just leave it alone. And I'm like, okay, and I'll just.
So let me get this straight. So first he went from shifting the blame on you to he doesn't know how it happened. Okay, no, it was shifting the blame on you. He doesn't know how it happened. It's a test from God and get over it. The whole time knowing he had been cheating, and that's how. Okay, and you continue to be a wife.
Okay, go ahead. What you say?
Go ahead.
Okay, so, and I think the reason why I used to always ask, because I used to always have dreams of him messing with women. And I wouldn't go to bed thinking about it. You just have without dreams. And I'd be like, what is this? What is this? And I would tell him, like, I'm constantly dreaming. Like, my dreaming, I literally, for real, I dreamt about him messing with women from the time we got married till he actually told me who he had messed with. And so imagine all those years of dreaming. And it wasn't like a everyday dream. It was like sporadic. I would dream. And there were times like at nighttime, I would be like 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning. I would wake up and I would wake him up and like, look, in my dream, this is what's going on. And I remember one night, it kind of got unbearable. So I woke him up and I told him explicit things about the dream. And I remember him getting up, walking around the bed, going to the bathroom. And I heard like noise of like vomiting. I didn't think nothing of it. I just went back to sleep. But a couple years later, when he actually told me, a couple of years later, he told me the reason why he got up. He said he got up because it was too much for him, because he knew what he had did, and the dream was basically exact. The way I dreamed it was the exact way that him and that person was in the dream. So he said it basically kind of scared him, because he figured, like, how would she know exactly what I was doing?
It scared him, but it didn't stop him.
Right.
Okay, so what alluded to him just coming clean? What was what actually happened that made him come clean?
So what actually happened to make him come clean? And I could talk about myself, because everybody's not clean. So I started having an affair with someone, and the affair wasn't a secret to him. He knew exactly who it was, and he knew about it. And I think.
So tell me about him knowing about it. Did you tell him? Okay. So you weren't sneaking behind his back. You were very open and honest about your extramarital affair.
Yes.
Affair. Okay.
Yes. And I think,
now let me ask you this: where were you in your state of mind that you just decided to just do your own thing?
I was tired. I was tired of being lied to. I was tired of not feeling worth. You know what I'm saying? Because as a wife, if he needed anything, I was there. I was a housewife. I'm not bragging on myself as a wife, but I know I was a good wife to him.
You were. I was there. I mean, I never would have even imagined that this kind of stuff was going on, because you kept such a brave face. Whenever he needed, you provided, even before he needed it. It was one of those things, like in the scripture, the Bible says, your prayers are already answered even before you even ask. Like, I know what you have need of even before you even asked. It was one of those things. That's one thing that I can say. I always admired your marriage, because you were just the ultimate wife. You were cooking, cleaning, whatever he needed with juice during service, whatever he needed, you were backing him when he was preaching and prophesying. You was your little boy. You were in the front row. You went hard for your husband, and that's one thing that I can say I witnessed. Okay, not just in church, but in your home life. Nobody ate before your husband. His plate was fixed. Period. Pooh. Period. Won't nobody else get no plate fixed by your hand until your husband was taken care of. So I know I'm a witness to that part. Okay.
Yes. So you said it. So basically, like, and it was never like a show. Like, whatever I did outside of home, inside of home, that's what I did. Like, I was there. I was a stay-at-home mom. Took care of the children. Whenever he came home from work, from bottom to top, my house was always clean.
Yes, it was, because I stayed there. Me and Miss Jada.
So I kept it clean. Anything he asked for, I basically did it. It was never a no. It was never no. I'm not going. It was at times, if I didn't feel like doing it, I still did it. Being pregnant and all, I did it. So, but it was just more like I was just tired, and I didn't want that for my life anymore. I'm young, and I see, like, people growing, as far as people growing and like in life and flourishing and getting their degrees and stuff like that. That's what I wanted for myself. I didn't want to be bound and be like, oh, I can't do this. You can't go out, or, you can't have friends and different things like that. I didn't want that,
So let me ask this, because people are going to ask, instead of you stepping outside of your marriage, okay, we do understand that you did not start it. We understand that you went through this from the age of 10 on up to after you bore his children. Let me ask you, instead of stepping out, even though he was aware and you did not hide it, why didn't you just leave him?
What was the last part you said?
Instead of stepping out, because now we do understand why you stepped out. However, we want to know, why did you step out versus just leaving him?
I didn't know how to leave.
Okay.
Um,
Because he was all you knew from the age of 10.
yes. Yes,
Okay.
he was the only person I had ever been with. Yes.
Okay. So you can say that your whole life revolved around him and then your kids, y'all's kids together.
Say that. What was the last part you said?
Your whole life revolved around you and y'all's kids together.
Yes.
Okay, so when you decided to release yourself physically and mentally, emotionally from the marriage, you stated to him, "Okay, listen, I'm going to do this, and this is what you did. You started a relationship with another person. How did he react to that?"
He was angry. He was mad. He would be like, don't do this. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. But even in that, even after I told him who I had messed around with, he still didn't tell me exactly who or what he had did. It was always that, oh, I'm just letting you do this because I know that you did not have a life. Like, I knew that your life was basically with me, basically with him. So he didn't tell me until, like, I think he guess I had enough of me, messing around with that person, that he just I think his pride was like, how could she be with someone and I'm right here? You know what I'm saying? I think that's what it was for him. And I think he was more embarrassed that I would do that.
Because he probably didn't think you had it in you.
Right. But I always told him, I said, don't ever think just because I've been with you from that age to now that I cannot get up and just do my own thing. Don't ever think that I need you to live, because I don't. And I think that he didn't think I was like
capable,
true, or like saying, I don't think he ever think like, oh, well, wow, Rachel is really gonna do this. Like, I don't think he ever like thought that. I think he was just like, oh, Rachel's gonna come around. I know Rachel will get over it. Rachel's not that type of person. She's just gonna, but I just got tired of it. I just didn't want it anymore. But it wasn't just because of me having an affair. That was way before I had an affair. I just was tired of it.
Okay, so in the process, what happened when he actually started telling you the names of people that he had these extra marital affairs with? Did he ever tell you do you think he just told everybody, or he just told about things that you had?
When he first told me, it was only one person he had told me about. And that's a person I had dreamed about for so many years. But as far as eventually, he told me about another person, but that was when I think we was in church one day, and he said to me, I'm about to, tell at the time the leader basically what was going on, and we had a meeting or whatever, and even then he still didn't tell me the second person until like I just was like, I'm like, if you did something, just say it. Like, then that's when he said, oh, this is the person that I messed with as well. But when the stories that he told me, it wasn't like it was he messed with that person and then that was it. It was, I think I said it wrong. It wasn't like he messed with the person and that was it. That's what he told me. Like, he just messed with them and then it
like
was
a one-time thing,
right, like a one-time thing, right? But that's not the truth. He didn't tell me everything. Later on, the women told me, what actually took place and how long it was going on.
Okay, so where are you? Have you had any kind? Where is this now? You are divorced. And how do you feel? Do you talk to him, or it's just strictly about the kids, or you still don't trust him? Where is this now? Would you ever get back with him? How are you in other relationships? Tell me where you are emotionally.
Okay, so we are officially divorced. As of last year, I was divorced. Um, last month, excuse me, I was divorced.
That's last
Uh,
year. Hmm.
yeah. So, would I ever? No, ma'am. The judge asked me. I would never forget that day. He asked me, what can I do to save this marriage?" And I told him, absolutely nothing. I would never go back into it. I don't wish any harm on him, but me, I cannot do it. I cannot do it. Do I have I spoken to him? Yes. For the children, but not on the level of anything other than the kids. That's it.
Okay, so so I know previously we stated that we were not going to talk about any church questions at all, correct?
No. You said any church questions?
Uh-huh.
Oh no, I'm not. No, ma'am. No.
Okay. So because I'm getting questions about it. People are asking. I'm gonna throw this out here. You can just stay silent and we'll move on, or you can say yes or no.
Okay, yeah. Anything dealing with the church, I'm sorry, but I'm not stating.
Okay, so we're gonna move forward. Okay,
Yeah.
so where are you? Have you had any emotional support, like seeing a therapist? You are actually seeing a therapist, or how is that going for you?
I was seeing a therapist. I'm not currently seeing one now, but I was seeing a therapist. And yeah, just living my life, taking care of whatever I need to take care of. But that's basically it.
What would be your advice to mothers of young children, of young girls, boys, so they would not get caught up in this trap? Give me some sort of advice that you would give somebody to not allow their children to get caught up in this trap.
Don't stop your life for one person. Don't do, as a young woman, you like the attention, you like, you know, being with someone, but don't ever let it get to the point where your stuff is diminished and they're just, it's all about them. Make sure that as a young woman or a mother that is young and has children, finish your education, go to school, do it. you know don't don't feel like, oh, because you're married or you're young or whatever, that you have to stop those things, because you don't. Or you have children, you don't. You can do it. I've heard many of stories. I've seen people that was young, my age, kicking it in school, going to school, getting education, getting their degrees. It can be done. And I just wasn't one of the ones that did it at the time, but I'm doing it now.
Okay, so I don't know if you're able to check your inbox, but can you check your inbox real quick? I'm going to give you a question. Okay, let me clear something up while you check that. Joyce Berry said, I'm not following. I must be missing something. Joyce, what part do you believe that you are missing so that we can clear it up? Teresa Joyner Coleman said, you are very mature. It is great. You do not bash the church, because some people tend to think Christians do not have issues. I don't think, Teresa, this was a church.
Okay, so everything that you just
I think
said.
this was a marital issue. This had nothing to do with church. They just happened to be in church. So that's correct. Joyce Berry said, right. So we're trying to figure out what part do you need to clear up. So let me summarize it for them real quick, because I don't know how is anything misconstrued about this. This is very straightforward. Okay, so Dorothy and Joyce. So at the age of 10 years old, a 17-year-old that was the minister of music sought after a young 10-year-old in his congregation that he was and if I get something wrong, stop me, that he was over, because he was the minister of music and not only the minister of music, but the youth pastor. So
you're going in and out, Natalie. It's
okay.
Like really, really choppy.
Okay, so I'm just summarizing it for them. Can you hear me?
I can, but it's just doing that choppy thing again.
Okay, so I was summarizing it for them real quick. So is it choppy again? Mm-hmm. How about now?
It's still.
Okay, hold on. It might be my phone that is acting a fool. Hold on. Okay, so is it still choppy now?
No.
Okay, so I was summarizing for them. Okay. So at the age, let me start back over. So at the age of 10 years old, a gentleman that was 17 besought her to date her, even though he was the minister of music and he was the youth pastor of their church. Okay, he started a relationship with a 10-year-old, knowing she was 10 years old because he knew her from church. Okay, so even when her mother found out around the age of 13 and 14, asked him to stop, he still continued to aggressively approach her and ask her out, even though they had been having sex since the age of 10. They eventually got married around 18 and 19 after he left the church and he asked her to come along. After the age of 18 and 19, they got married. Only her brother came because the other family members did not agree. They had to have a DNA test because the family was saying they were related. Okay, so the DNA test came back, cleared them. Okay. After the DNA test, they got married. Everything was going good. They had children. And one of her pregnancies, she found out that she had curable STD. She asked him. He went from saying he did not know to accusing her to then saying it might have been God testing them. So you can say he was a liar, a cheater, and manipulator. Okay, so eventually, during the marriage, she had been having dreams. She was telling him these dreams, and he was still saying that that was not true. It must have been a test from God. Okay, so once they had gotten to the point that he eventually told her. So he had told her about one person, then he told her about a second person. Okay, so now we know for a fact he's a manipulator, liar, and a cheater. Okay, so she decided she had had enough. So she told him straight up in his face, listen, this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to get my lick back. I'm going to date. I asked her, why didn't she just leave? She said because she didn't know how. Of course, that's normal because she was 10 years old. Okay, this is where we are now. It had nothing to do. This was not about the church. This was about a man that happened to be in church that was dating a child that happened to be in church. Okay, so Rachel, is okay? So hold on for 1 minute. Let me check one more thing out.
Okay.
I apologize, you guys, because I was confused. Okay, thank you, Joyce. I was confused about. Okay, so let me ask you this: you and him were in church together, right?
In and out. I'm so sorry.
Okay. Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay, you were here. Him was in we're in church together. That he at that time did not consider a cult, but in the last year he has considered it. He said it was a cult. Correct.
Correct.
Do you believe it was a cult?
No, ma'am.
Okay, so it is your firm belief that y'all were not in a cult.
Mm-mm. No,
okay. Okay, thank you for clearing that up.
We was able to do whatever we wanted to do. We was able to come and go as pleased. From the interview that I saw, I will say this: from the interviews that were from the talk show that I saw, that's not how it was portrayed. But again, I'm not here to talk about the church or anything dealing with that. So, but I would just say,
okay. So I'm going to
your question.
No. Your ex was on an interview, supposedly, I have to say supposedly, bringing awareness to cultish churches, and you are saying you were not in a cult. So, as far as you are concerned, that was another false allegation, another untruth that he has told. And Teresa said also, it is never too late to go to school. I got my associate's bachelor's degree in my late 40s, so I'm happy to hear that you are looking after yourself. Okay, she is in school now for her RN. So she is back in school handling her educational business. Thank you so much, Teresa. That was a good point. And she said, I meant to say that she was very mature, that she did not speak of church issues. That's absolutely correct. Okay, so is there anything else that you would like to share with us? Because so many people were inboxing me about you. They wanted to know where you're safe. So I'm going to ask you this. Are you safe in a safe place?
Yes, ma'am.
Are you in a good place emotionally, mentally, and physically?
Yes.
Are you in a safe place financially?
Yes.
Okay, so at this current point, you are not in any sort of lack that you know of.
No.
Okay, and you are at peace.
Very much so.
Okay, the most peace you've known since 10 years old.
Say it again.
The most peace you've known since 10 years old.
Wait, say what now?
I said you're at the most peace that you've known since 10 years old.
Yes, very much so.
Okay.
Yes, very much so.
Okay, so what are some of your lasting thoughts? We have 5 more minutes. Just let me know anything that you would like to share in these last 5 minutes, or Teresa, we don't want to bring up the children. They do have children, but certain topics are off limits because they are minor children, and we try to stay from that. Okay, but they do have children, multiple children. So, what are some of your lasting thoughts that you just want us to know, or you want us to think about? Any advice? Just where you are. Anything you want to say to summarize what happened, or anything?
More so that when you get in a situation that you feel like you cannot get out of, just know that you can. You don't have to be stuck to a situation if you don't want to. It's really your choice. You do have a choice, and you can get out of it. I'm not saying it's not going to be easy to do it, but I mean, you may have some obstacles, but just know for young women that when you're in a situation and you feel like you're being controlled or manipulated, or you can't have friends, or you can't do this, or you feel yourself diminishing, always know that there is a better way, and that you don't have to downgrade yourself because you feel like you made a wrong decision. Things happen in life, but it's what you do afterwards. And if you can always live from that. You live to learn. There's nobody on this earth that is perfect. God, by heaven, means there is nobody. Only person that was perfect on this earth was Jesus. That's it. He is the ultimate perfect person. So, we strive towards perfection, but, we live and learn, and for young women, get your education. Go do stuff with your life. Go travel. Go do something. Don't just settle down with the first person that you see, or when you're so young, you settle down. Don't do that. Not saying that, because there are some people that have flourished from that, and there's some people that haven't. But it's not for everybody. But I'm happy. I'm happy with the decision that I've made. I'm living life. Doing what I need to do. Getting my education. So again, I'm happy.
All right. Well, we're just going to say we're praying for you. We thank God that He brought you out. We thank God that you were able to conquer whatever was besetting you. We're so grateful that you're in a great place, not just emotionally, but mentally, physically, financially. We pray your strength. We pray for continual peace. We pray for the children that are involved. Most of all, we just pray that you be all that God wants you to be. That nothing stops you from growing, nothing triggers you up, nothing makes you fall. We just pray for God's protection and for Him to dispatch His guardian and warring angels to surround about you, and that anything that comes to try to destroy you, we ask that God just set a standard, and you just go on with life and be at peace. Okay?
Yes. Yes,
All
thank
all
you.
right. We thank you so much for being our special guest today. It was so courageous of you to talk about this. A lot of women go through this. They don't want to talk about it. They don't want to be associated with it. But I thank you because a lot of people needed to know your story so they, in fact, won't go through it or they will come out of it.
Right, exactly.
All right.
Don't
Thank
ever
you
feel
so
like
much,
you guys
Rachel.
don't.
We will
can't
see
come
you
out.
guys later. Thank you so much for your shares and your prayers. Have a nice day. This is Natalie with Pillow Talk and Miss Rachel as special guest. Bye-bye, you guys.
Bye.